So the past few weeks, we've been discussing Ephesians chapter 1, 2, and 3, and we talked about the necessity, if you remember, for the past few weeks, this idea that in the Eastern mindset, the book of Ephesians can be broken up into 3 sections: sit, walk, and stand. And we talked about what it means to sit for the past few weeks. And I gave you guys a challenge, and I challenged you. I said, okay, over this week, I want you to set aside some time in the morning, whether maybe in your car, wait before you pull out of the driveway, get up early and read. When you get to the office, do something. So I was asking, is there any stories? Did anybody try this? I heard a yes somewhere. Yes? Okay, story? Was there anything that like you did it, like this was, you saw anything from it? My challenge from last week about setting aside, yes. Yeah, I want to. Did you notice anything from it?
I did, but I'd rather not.
Okay, but you did. You noticed something. Okay, good. Were you going to say something, Rustin? You've been doing it for a little while now. For you and I have been having this. You've been getting up early. And
I made a change in the sense that because I'm studying, and so I changed it from just 3 days that I took I read through the Gospel of Mark. And then I noticed that since last week that I've just been praying a lot more.
awesome.
So that was the big change.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Anybody else? Mm. Awesome. So the whole idea was to every day be reminded that we are to connect to the source, that we are to connect with God every day. Like this is not just something that is a good idea or is, like a self-help book, like, hey, it'll be good. Like, no, this is like the source for you, that your life will be different. There's a friend of mine that Aaron and I have this mutual relationship with a friend, and we text back and forth, who he's an older gentleman about my age, closer to my age, and he's gone to church for a long time, many, many years. But it's only in the past year that something clicked and it became real. And his life is now consumed with, God, and talking about Jesus. And his wife got him an ESV Bible in large print. He was so excited. He sent us a picture like, I got the large print, and then he's like, and she got me these maps, and I study them all the time. And he's like reading about it, and he's got like these, the Chosen shirts that he loves to wear out, and like hopefully he engages in conversation. And every time he sits down with people, he's like, yeah, my life is different. And he's like, he has conversations about God all the time now. All the time. And it's one of those things where here's a guy that, he's known God for many, many years, 50 years almost. He's known this God. But it's only been in the past year when it became real. And so why does he tell these people? Why does he have all this excitement? Because it's in this past year that his life has actually changed. His life that was riddled with anxiety and stress and trauma, he's finding healing with. And joy has replaced the anxiety. And his life is different, and so he is excited. The source that he is connected to has literally changed his life. And so on that, let's go to Ephesians. Chapter 2. Let's go back a little bit. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 13 through 16. Somebody other than Alex read today. 13 through 16, please. Chapter 2.
But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far away, have been brought near by
Through 16.
For he himself is our peace. He has made the two groups one and has destroyed the barrier, dividing the wall of hostility. By setting aside in his flesh the law with its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of his two, thus making peace. And in one body to reconcile both of them, God, through the cross, by which he put to death of their hostility.
Excellent. I'm going to read 15 again. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the Torah of the commands in dogma, so that as to create in himself one renewed man from the two. One renewed man. What does it mean to be renewed? Don't put it up yet. Oh, you did. Darn it. Darn it. One step ahead of me. I got to move the slide down. What does it mean to be renewed? Made new. Okay, what else? Without looking. Refreshed. Okay. Filled up. Okay. So if you're empty, good.
Refresh. In the sense of, I was totally exhausted with eating, and then I drank some Gatorade, right?
I think that's what he said, right. Be filled up. Yeah.
Refresh, like that. That's what
Yeah.
Also, Emily said that it should be renewing her membership with parenthood.
With parenthood, aren't you already a parent? Yeah, renewing it, okay. I love the definition. When I pulled this up, I looked at several definitions. I was like, okay, let's go through. What does it mean to be renewed? To make like new, to restore to freshness, which you said, vigor, and or perfection as we renew our strength in sleep. To make new, spiritually, to regenerate. Who were you before Messiah? Before knowing God the Father? Well, are you the same today as you were then? Is that person who you were before God still the same person today? Hopefully the answer is absolutely not. My follow-up question would be, is your life visibly different though? I got a text from a friend of mine he out of the blue, like, hey, Matt, how you doing? Oh, wow, I haven't talked to you in a while. I'm like, I'm good. How are you? What's going on? He's like, I'm doing all right. The people in the church, though, they suck. I'd much rather just hang out with non-Christians. This is a pastor, right? And I wrote back, I said, I know what you feel. Because when I was at a church in Phoenix, I left a job in finance where I worked with people who didn't know God all day long, and I got to be different, and I got to encourage and love on people. And when I left that and I came to the church, thousands of people, for a year I was depressed. Because all I heard from people in the church were people complaining, whining, moaning about this and that, and this isn't right, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this place sucks. And I texted it back, I said, it sounds like you need a new community. Because I don't have that feeling here, but I know what it was like there. And my question that I struggled with then, and I challenge him, is, are the people that you surround yourself, are they different? Have they been changed, or do they just go to church? I'm not talking about what you say, because that is part of it. But is your whole life different because you've connected to the source? Every day, I ask myself, am I a better husband today? Am I a better father today? Do you ever reflect in your life, am I a better son today than I was last year? Am I a better father than I was 5 years ago? Am I raising my daughter as a better parent than I was when my boys were 13 and 14 years old? Am I better today? And it's funny because Roman and Justin were like, well, you didn't do that when we were younger. Yeah, I hope not, because I was kind of a jerk back then. I was wrong. I'm trying to be better. Although it's easy to say, well, you're just being easy on Kennedy. No, I can see that, but no, I'm trying to be a better parent. I'm trying to be a better husband than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago. That is my goal. If I am connecting myself to the source, my life should change every day. Shouldn't it? If I'm the same today as I was 10 years ago, have I really connected? So we are supposed to go back and sit on these things, reflect, see, are these words that we read and pursue and connect to, are they changing me? If so, if we ask these questions and we ponder these questions, then we can move on to chapter 4, verse 1. Somebody read verse 1, please. Chapter 4, verse 1. Who's got me? AJ? Yes, sir. Chapter 4, verse 1.
I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk and obey the words of the calling to which you have been called.
To walk. What does it mean to walk? What is he talking about, to walk? To live. Right? It's not, the way you walk, but the way we walk is this Hebrew metaphor of the way that you walk is all about everything that you do in your life. From your actions to your words to your thoughts. He is calling you to walk worthily every single day. How do I walk? And there's an expectation to that. I want you to walk worthily of the calling with which you were called. In 1980, I'm going to go way back here, and there's one person that might remember this. Well, you might remember this too. You're close to my age, right? Maybe you're a little bit younger than me. I can't remember. I'll give you that. You're younger than me. Bruce, though, might remember this. Walt was probably about 50 in 1980, right? So in 1980, something miraculous happened. In 1980, the United States was playing hockey against the USSR, against Russia in the Olympics. And they should not have been able to do what they did. Let me just play the clip really quick, and just so you can catch up and see what I'm talking about. This was something in 1980 that nobody would have expected. Do you believe in miracles? I get chills watching it, right? Because why is it so big? Does anybody remember? Why is that such a big deal? Why is that a miracle? You have the United States of America who has this college team. Like, this was before professional players could play. right? We had college students from all of these different universities that were coming together in a very short amount of time to play against the best in the world who were unbeaten, could never be beaten. The USSR were this team that grew up together, they played together. They were the professionals of hockey. They'd never lost. And here in this short amount of time, you get these college kids from all over the place coming together to try to beat this team who are just unbeatable. There's no way they were going to beat them. And so how did this happen? How does this actually take place? Next scene. This team just played in a pre-match. They got smoked by like Finland. They lost like 6-0. The coach is pissed. If you've ever played sports before where the coach was absolutely pissed with your performance, that you sucked and you did not play to the capacity or the worthiness of who you were or what your team should have done, I've been in that position where the coach, go, run. We're puking, vomiting, everybody's throwing up, everybody's tired. We've been running for an hour, you're exhausted, you're pissed. So I resonate with this scene. But what leads up to this scene? Why does he do this? Why does Michael Rizzoli say what he has to say? Because of this first scene that sets up this whole thing. Right here. Go.
When you put on that shirt, you represent yourself and your teammates. And I
The name on the front of your jersey is more important than the name on the back. What's the name on the back of your jersey in every sports team? Your name. What's the name on the front? Who you represent. The name on the front of your shirt and the front of your jersey is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. This reminds me of Paul when he says that you are to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. When you go to church and say, oh, I'm part of the gathering, but then you live in a way that is unworthy to that call, what do you represent to the world? What did Paul say? I call upon you, I urge, I beg, I implore each of you, just like this, yelling at you as a prisoner. Don't forget, I'm in jail. I'm in prison writing this to you. Don't forget that. As a prisoner of the Master, to walk worthily of the calling which you were called. What did it take for these players to do the impossible, to do the miraculous? They could no longer be individuals. They could no longer just live for themselves. They had to learn what it meant to be one team, one body. What does it mean to wear the symbol, to wear what you represent on the front of your jersey? Verse 2, Aaron.
With all humility, gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love.
What do people see? If you call yourself a follower of the Master, the follower of Messiah, if you call yourself a Christian, or you profess, I go to this church or that church or whatever, what do people see when you walk in the room? Do they see a man or a woman of humility? Do they see a person of meekness, somebody who's patient, bearing with other people who go through struggles and pain? Do they see someone who has love for their fellow person? What do people see when you walk in the room? Are you the person who fills the room and has to be the loudest person in the room? Are you the person who is arrogant about all the things that you do and say because you're just the greatest? Or is there an aspect of humility to you? Are you this Shamet stereotype that is always loud and obnoxious? Or is there a meekness to you, a gentleness to you? Are you an impatient father when it comes to your children? Are you impatient with the people you work with? Or are you patient with them? Verse 3. Everly, really loud. Verse 3, please.
Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace.
Make every effort to what? What did it say? Make every effort to keep. Anybody have a different translation? To maintain. Interesting. This word for maintain, for keep is the Greek word terio, which in Hebrew is samar. We've talked about it many times. Anybody remember what the word samar means? It's a word picture. What? To guard. Excellent job. It is to guard. Next picture. It is the idea of a shepherd protecting their flock. To guard. Like it's a soldier on duty, their job is to protect, to guard. An officer is to protect people. Your job is to, here Paul is saying, to protect. Your job is to, verse 3, being eager to guard the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. What is the unity of the Spirit of the bond of peace? What are you guarding? What are you guarding? What? Oneness? Let me read that again. Being eager to guard the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. How many of you struggle with being right to the point where you will argue to the death over a toothpick or the color of the carpet or something that you learned, this fact that you learned, and somebody doesn't believe you. How many of you will argue to the end? I remember Christmas Eve 20 years ago. 20 years ago. The kids weren't even born yet. It was at Andrea's house, her parents' house. They had white carpet. Who has white carpet, right? Her parents had white carpet. We had all these Christmas stuff. They had many. And so me and her sisters and their husbands are over. We're all sitting there, and it's probably 1, 2 in the morning, and there's been lots of food and lots of presents and lots of drinking, and her dad is sitting on the couch drinking a glass of wine. And her mom comes in the other room, and she starts, she's mad. She's like, who spilled wine on the carpet? White carpet. There's drops all over, right? We're like, oh crap. I'm like, I haven't had wine in hours. It's not me. No, everybody's denying it. And Al, he's drinking his wine with wine drops on his socks. He's like, wasn't me. Nope. And he would argue that to the death. Wasn't me. I did not do it. What does it mean to be eager to guard the unity in the Spirit and the bond of peace? It means that in community, in relationship, we have to remember that relationships are more important sometimes than being right. Because the bond of peace, the Spirit of peace that brings us together, that holds us together, why are we going to argue about something that doesn't even matter? Does being right in this moment actually affect anything? Isn't our relationship more important? But how often do married couples or friends end because one disagreement? And here's Paul saying, like a soldier, like a shepherd protecting his flock, guard the unity of the peace. Why? Because you're to be humble and meek sometimes, bearing with one another in patience and love. You might not understand it. Why am I going to beat you over the head of this? It's okay. We'll figure it out later. But am I just going to keep arguing and arguing? What? Why? What's the name on your jersey? Who do you represent? How much does your ego go right here? How much of your own stubbornness goes on the front of your shirt? Does everybody have to see that you're the boss? Some of the greatest people, the bosses that I've ever worked for, they didn't have to tell everybody they were in charge. In fact, they never told people they were the boss. But because of their humility and meekness and respect and honor, the people that worked for them loved them. And they worked their hearts out for them. And never once did I see this person, one I'm speaking of, never once did he say, don't forget, I'm the boss. Don't forget, I'm in charge. I'll never forget going to a church, and I remember sitting in a meeting at another church, somebody else, and I was just an outsider, and the senior pastor said, don't forget, I'm the senior pastor. I was like, holy crap. Does your ego have to be in charge of everything? Because here's the most important part that Paul gets to, verse 4. Rest in verse 4, please. You got it?
There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called to the one hope that belongs to your call.
There's one body, one spirit. Who's the head of this body? Right? The body follows the source. Remember, the head is this picture of the head of a river, the head of a body. It's the source where everything comes from. And the source has one body and one spirit. Verse 5 says, one master. one belief, one immersion. This idea of, your translation might say one Lord, it's a Greek word, kyrios. It means it's a title, like master. The better translation would be you have one master, one person that you follow. This is my teacher, this is my rabbi. This is the person that I follow completely and submit my life to. He is the master of my life, the king of my life. Like Pilate said, this is the king of the Jews. This is the title that I'm giving him. Paul says, this is your master. You are no longer to be polytheists, following all these gods, Diana and all these other lustful gods and all these things for prosperity. All of these other things that you consider as important. He says, no. Verse 6, there's only one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. And in you all. There's no longer many. There's one immersion that you have committed yourself like a spiritual act of death, that old life of who I used to be. I've gone through this water to be a new person, to be renewed as a new man, as a new woman. The old life is gone. That old ego is gone. That old arrogant, obnoxious person that I used to be is gone. And through this immersion, I am a new person. A new man, a new woman who wears a new jersey, who plays for a new team, that says, this is who I play for right here. This is who I represent. We are to be one in the body, one in spirit, which helps us think of when we go to Acts. Acts 2 says this, and they were continuing steadfastly in the teaching of the emissaries, the apostles, and in the fellowship, and in the breaking of bread, and in the prayers. And fear came upon every single being, and many wonders and signs, miracles were being done through the emissaries. And all those who believed were together, and they had all in common. This is what it means to get back to our roots. This is what I was talking about last week. This is what it means that the gathering was built on this idea of being in regular community, spending time with each other throughout the week, doing the discipleship groups, which are still back there to sign up for, to meet in homes and to break bread, to have something to drink, to eat, to fellowship, to pray together, to talk about life, to see what this word is doing in our lives and how it is affecting us. To the different holidays, to the different things that we do around here. The more that we come together under one banner, the more that we come together as one body in one spirit, it seems that God does miraculous things when that happens. It seems that our lives can change when we together, connected to the source together, God will do miraculous things. Even change our lives and those around us. How do you walk? What is the name that you wear on the front of your shirt? Are you reminded every day that this is who you play for? And every time you walk into a room, that's what people see. Do you walk worthily of the calling to which you were called? Father, we just thank you for this reminder that Paul not only challenged this community of Jews and Gentiles hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but how this letter can also apply to us. We pray, Father, that we can sit on your words, that we can sit on your promises, that we can sit on the things that you have told us are true about our lives and how you have called us to something greater. I pray, Father, that as we work out our salvation with fear and trembling, that we push ourselves to be better every single day, to live up to this calling that you have called us to be worthy of this calling. You have blessed us and showered us with so many things, with your grace and your forgiveness. And now, as we look back and sit back and give thanks to what you have done, we wish to live completely for you. May we remember that the name on the front of our jersey is more important than the name on the back. May we bring you glory in everything that we do. Amen.